Hi guys, Mrs. Delisin here. Welcome to another lesson of Algebra 2. Today's lesson is called Inverse Function. It's highly recommended that before you watch this video, you already finished watching function composition lesson or function composition video. Let us start. What is inverse function? Normally, when we are trying to solve for an equation, we're normally given the value of x and we're solving for the value of y, right? Inverse function is just technically the reverse. You're given the value of y and you're looking for the value of x, which we're not used to that idea, right? We're used to the idea of here's the x, find the y. We're not used to the idea of doing it the inverse way or the reverse way. Okay? We have a new notation that we have to take note. This one right here. F, and how do we read that? That we read that as f inverse of x. That only tells you that you are given the y value, you're looking for the x. So how does that apply when we have a graph or a chart? We have here a graph of f of x, and on the right we have the chart of g of x. So every time I say about f of x, you'll look at here, and then g of x will look in here. And then I would like you to note that this is a column of all the x values, and then this is the column of all the y values. We could also put x and y. Okay. First example is f inverse of a negative 4. And because of this right here, that negative 1 in there, that tells you you're doing the inverse. Meaning, instead of the usual x given, this number right here, that's the y. So what's that saying is that in the graph of f of x, if the y is negative 4, so I am going to highlight this one because this is when y is negative 4. If the y is negative 4, find the corresponding x. And so this is the only point or the only part of this graph that has a y value of a negative 4. Now, what we're being asked is, what's the x of that point? So the y of that point, we already know is a negative 4. What's the x of that point? The x of that point is 5. So, our final answer in here for f inverse of a negative 4 is just simply 5. When x is equal to 5, the y is negative 4. Moving on, letter B. Because of this inverse, again, this is read as f inverse of 3, meaning to say that we're looking for the value of x, and that is the value of y. So I'm going to highlight where y is equal to 3. And this is the part of the graph where y is equal to 3. Where is the corresponding point? And that's over here. So this point here has a y of 3. What's the x of that point? I think the x of that point is a negative 2. So f inverse of 3 is a negative 2. Now let's move on to the G, to the chart of values or to the table. We have here G inverse of a negative 1, meaning to say we're looking for the value of x, and we are given that the value of our y is a negative 1. So I'm going to highlight the y is negative 1. Remember now, we have two negative 1. I have a negative 1 in here, and I have a negative 1 in here. But what are we given? We're given that the y is a negative 1. So that's where y is negative 1. What is the corresponding x is 2. So when in the chart or in the value table, when x is equal to 2, the y is equal to negative 1. So we're looking at 2 as our final answer. Moving on, for letter D, we have a G inverse of 3. So if our y is equal to 3, we're looking for the x. So again, we have two values of 3, but we are given that the y is equal to 3. What is the corresponding input, or what's the x value? It's -1. All right, there you have it. And that's how you will use the graph and the table to find the inverse function. Now, our problem is, what if we have it as an equation? What if it looks like a linear function? We have here steps to determine the inverse algebraically. Now, we have to specifically, strictly follow each of these steps. We have to replace f of x with y, interchange x and y, solve for y, and replace y with f inverse of x. I am going to be using this example over here, and I'm going to strictly follow every single step. First, you write the given function. F of x equals 3x minus 2. The first right here is replace f of x with y. So I'm going to replace the f of x with y. Next, interchange x and y. When you say interchange, does that mean you're just going to put x where y is and put y where x is? Right? Yes, that's really what you really have. That's all you have to do. So I'm going to put x in here and I put y in there. That's it. That's what it means by interchange x and y. Moving on. Number 3, solve for y. So when you say solve for y, does that mean isolate y? Does that mean leave y alone? So I'm going to highlight y because we're trying to leave that alone. So first, let's kick out the -2. So we'll add 2 on both sides. That will give us x plus 2 equals 3y. And again, we're isolating it. We're leaving it alone. So we're going to divide 3 on both sides. And 3 divided to x and 3 divided to 2 also. So the 3 is now gone and we are left with y on the side. And then remember now, this is 1x, right? The x is never alone. So we always have a coefficient. So because we don't see any, that it means that it's just a 1. So that will translate into 1/3 x plus 2/3. So we've already solved for y. Last step in there is to replace y back to f inverse of x. So our final answer would be 1/3 x plus 2/3. So the inverse of 3x minus 2 is 1/3 x plus 2/3. Okay. Moving on. We have here. Let's start with f of x. F of x here. So I'll do f of x equals 4x minus 6. Replace f of x with y. So 4x minus 6. Interchange the position of x and y. So that is 4y minus 6. Solve or isolate the y. Leave y alone. So you're going to end up with x plus 6 equals 4y. Divide by 4. Divide by 4. So our final answer, remember there's a 1. 1/4 x. 6 over 4 or 3 over 2. And finally, you are going to change that into f inverse of x. So our final answer is 1/4 x plus 3 over 2. All right, last one would be g inverse of x. So same idea. You are going to write the problem. Change the g of x to y. Or if it was let's say p of x, then I'll change that to y also. Interchange the position of x and y. Easy to follow, right? Leave y alone. So we're subtracting 3 on both sides. you're going to end up with x minus 3 equals 1/2 y. So here, we're going to get rid of the 1/2. So we're either dividing by 1/2, but I think it's easier if we multiply, right? If we multiply by 2 instead. So I'm going to multiply 2 on both sides. So that's gone. So we're left with y in there. That is, distribute the 2, 2x minus 6. So our g inverse of x, so our answer is 2x minus 6. Alright? I hope you guys find this helpful in completing your homework for inverse function. If you feel like this video is too fast, you can always change the setting when you watch it in YouTube. If you have any question at all, please let me know as soon as you can. And I hope you learned something today. I will see you guys on the next video. Bye, and thank you for watching.